episode of Grassroots Racer. Tonight I speak to someone who's been involved in racing with their local car club as well as Formula V, and it's great to hear from racers who love to compete and share their love and passion for motorsport. So to hear about more of his racing journey, it's a big welcome to Lee Partridge. So how are you tonight, Lee?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Always really good straight after a test day. So in these lockdown days, it's always a bit doomy and gloomy with no race meetings, but I was lucky enough to get out on track. So I'm really good at the moment, really happy and enthused. Looking forward to the race meetings that are coming up with a bit of luck. And yeah.
That's really good, Lee. And so do you reckon you'll be doing Isle of Magic?
If it goes ahead, for sure, I'm ready 100%. The test day proved a couple of things I need to fix on the car, but we've got a couple of months left, so more than enough time for me to get ready in the car, do some training on iRacing, and yeah, if Isle of Magic goes ahead, which I don't know, talking to a lot of people in the industry, it's still a bit 50-50 and a few people aren't really sure. So, but if it goes ahead, I'm definitely there with bells on for sure.
Well, that's great. So let's get right into it. So how did you get into racing initially?
So my whole family's always been around motorsport. From when I was a little kid, my dad raced motorbikes, and my stepfather from then on raced motorbikes as well. So around motorsport and around track. So I was at Winton as a little kid at race meetings. So always grew up around it. And then through my sort of probably 9, 10 years old, 11, 12 years old, I was going to like super tour events at Winton, back in the Audi/BMW days of super tourers and Group A and obviously supercars events. And then my father and uncle started circuit racing. So when I was quite young, sort of 13, when I was 12, I got my junior car club license. But through that time, I was actually going to race meetings that they were racing at as support and pit crew as I could, but I was too young to race. And then at the age of 12, my uncle gave me my Bendigo Car Club junior license, and which allowed me to do motor carnas, carna crosses and stuff like that until I think back then I was about 15 or 16, I think it was, that I was allowed to start doing circuit sprints. And once I got onto tarmac and off the dirt and doing circuit racing stuff at Calder Park and at Winton, then that was it. I was off.
Let's just quickly talk about the Bendigo Car Club that you signed up to. So do you remember what your favourite track was to compete on?
Well, I didn't do a lot of other club stuff. I did autocross at Pakenham Car Club, and I did another one somewhere else. I can't remember what it was, but Bagshot as an autocross track was awesome. When I was quite young, and you could only do carna crosses, which had a few slow points on the track, so you couldn't go wide open throttle. So I was only ever in sort of second gear as a junior, but on dirt, sideways and all that, definitely Bagshot. I've got very strong memories of Bagshot as a dirt track. But as I said, once I got onto tarmac, and our first event was at Winton in a Mitsubishi Galant rally car owned by Norman Brown and Darden Brown from Bendigo Specialist Brake and Clutch. And I would have been 15, I reckon it was. I think it was like 7 months or something stupid that you're allowed to do those events. Anyway, so that was my first ever foray onto tarmac. And from then on, Bagshot was nowhere. I was definitely a circuit man from there on. But yeah, Bagshot was pretty cool.
Well, you did come third in the junior championship, so that's pretty good. And you said you got into circuit racing. So I think I'm actually allowed to do circuit racing. So it's still at that young age of 14 that you can. But how did it come about that, Darden and Norm got you into your first car?
Yeah, so we, my stepfather's a mechanic in Bendigo, and we would get brake supplies, brakes and, disc machines and stuff like that through Norm and through Bendigo Specialist Brake and Clutch. So through that family connection, they had those cars and rally cars, and we didn't have a lot of cars when I was young. We sort of couldn't afford to have a lot of cars, but they gave me the ability to have a borrow the car and actually have a run of it. So that was really cool of them, and I'll always remember them for that, giving me a few opportunities and helping me out throughout. Even when I got into Formula V's, they maintained their support with me throughout, and they've been really good. So it was that family connection through the mechanical trade in Bendigo. Yeah,
so you just mentioned Formula V there. I believe you drove Frank Hare's Elliott too. How did such a car like that feel to drive?
Well, at the time, I didn't know any different. I'd only ever done car club stuff, and maybe I think by then probably maybe 2 sprints at Winton. So circuit racing was very new to me, and I was still very young. And then I'd never driven an open wheeler, and of course, Formula V's being right-hand gear change, that was new to me. But it was a really cool experience. You know, I had to earn that drive with Frank. He had a crash at turn 12 at Phillip Island. I think in 2000 or maybe 2001, and fair bit of damage to the car. And he's seen how keen I was to get into Formula V, and he offered me the chance to drive his car if I helped him repair it. So I did all the fiberglass work as an apprentice motor mechanic, learning how to do fiberglass repair work and body work, and then helped Frank disassemble and repair parts and rebuild the car. And in the guise that he gave me a drive of it at the end. So in that time is when I actually got my circuit license. So while we were rebuilding that car, I borrowed another Bendigo businessman's circuit car, John McLean from John McLean Electrical, who's another family friend. He had a Bluebird that was like an improved production car of today, a club car. And I took his car down to Calder and did my OLT, my observed license test, and got my circuit racing license. And actually, I think my first event was in a Datsun 1600 at the 6-hour event at Winton, but then after that, it was straight into Frank Hares V. And from Frank Hares V, then we obviously loved it that much and did all right in it in that first event, and then bought my own car from there.
Yeah, so after you bought your first car, you had a wild first event. So tell us about that.
In Frank's car, yeah. So it was my first, as I said, time in open wheelers and right-hand gear changes and circuit racing. So just the whole mentality, you know, you come from sprints where you just go out on the track and warm the car up and do a lap and come back in kind of thing. Circuit racing is different, as you know. It's that grit, that warm-up lap and gritting up and lights on, green flag, drop of the flag and go, and you race till the checkered flag. And that was the first experience I'd had at proper flag-to-flag racing. And I qualified 5th in his car, which I was stoked. And I think I look back on it now, and I think a few people were pretty surprised by that, and no more than me. I was surprised too. Credit to Frank's car more than anything, I suppose. And but yeah, first race, I think I got up to 2nd position, and I get his name right. Joseph Chan was in front of me, and I thought I was quicker than him, so I went to pass him and made a bit of a rookie error, as you do when you're that young. And we clashed wheels, and I popped the steering box out and ended up at 𝘕𝘠𝘴𝑚. I think I pulled in and actually DNF'd that race. So from the rest of the weekend, I started from the back and worked my way up to, I think, 6th or 8th, I think, by the end of the weekend. And it was just a highs and lows of motorsport, you know, thrown in the deep end, and actually did pretty well and learnt a lot in one weekend. And I think that's a testament to being able to drive a good car in your first event. It really gave me the opportunity to see what I could do rather than be whittling down the back in a lesser car. So thankful for Frank for that one opportunity. Been pretty lucky with a few opportunities throughout my time racing. But that was a wild weekend. I've got lots of vivid memories from that day.
Yeah, like I said, I bought my car off Frank here, and I hope it, does well when we can get it on track. So what track did you do that event at?
That was Winton as well. So that was what they called the HQ4 hour. So it was like what we call now a state race series event. And the main feature was the HQs had a 4 hour. So the Formula V's and a few other categories were a support event. But yeah, very similar to a Vic State Race Series event.
Yeah. So did you you said you did really well. So was it partially because of Frank's car, your knowledge of the track and your talent? Is that what you say put you up the front?
Oh, look, yeah, just a combination of everything. Yeah, so from when we bought our own car and run that for 4 or 5 years, throughout that time, I did actually borrow Frank's car another few times, and I've raced it at Phillip Island, I've raced it at Sandown, and going backwards and forwards from our car to Frank's, I always did better in Frank's car. No matter how better I got throughout my driving, I always did better as soon as I got in Frank's car. So his car was definitely amazing. So to start off in that, I think having built the car too as a mechanic, with a bit of mechanical aptitude and knowledge in my head, building the car, you sort of learn about it before you even get to drive it. So, I sat on the car on the dyno and ran the engine in, and pushed it around the garage, and I sort of just had that mechanical feel of the car before I even got to drive it. That probably helped a lot. And then obviously, having been at Winton before helped. But I think not so much talent. I think back then in your early part, and you've probably got it as well, you have that enthusiasm and that raw, almost, people call it no fear, but I don't think it's no fear. You've just got youthful exuberance that just comes out in raw pace. And you might not be the best driver or the most talented driver, but you're quick straight out the box. And sometimes that's a bad thing, sometimes it's a good thing, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you raced at Sandown, so is it true that you held the lap record there for a bit? Do you remember the lap time? Do you remember the lap time? And was it in a quali or a race?
I can't remember the actual lap time. I'd have it somewhere. It's on NatSoft if you go looking. I reckon it was in 2002 or maybe 3. I think it was 2003, and it was in a race, and it was back when it was 1200 days, so there was no 1600 Formula Vs, there was no disc brakes, they were all drum brakes, and they also had a lot of more control parts like they do now. One in particular was the inlet manifold, so it was a steel tubular standard Volkswagen manifold, and I got the lap record in a race from slipstreaming, of course, and all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't in Frank's car, it was actually my car, funnily enough. And I was stoked to have a lap record, something pretty cool. But then straight after that meeting, they changed the inlet manifold to a control manifold, which actually was better. So the first meeting that we all went back to Sandown, we all went faster again, and the record got broken. And at that time, CAMS and AASA were having a bit of a split, and the series got a bit broken up, and through the financial constraints and stuff like that, we ended up going the AASA route, not the CAMS route, which means I didn't really race at Sandown much anymore from there.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the different intake, is it?
Yeah, intake manifold. Yep.
Intake manifold change. So I know what it's like to have a lap record. It's amazing, but when someone takes it off you, you're like, oh damn it. Because when I used to race karts, I'd move up a class and I've still got the lap record. I'd go there again and someone would have pinched it by nothing and you would have gone, Yeah,
that's it. No, they're little personal trophies, things like lap records and statistics and things like that, regardless of whether we're grassroots racers like you and I, or whether you're fully professional. I've got good friends that have talked to me about this sort of stuff as well, that are professional drivers, and we all hold those little things dearly, regardless of, you might not think we do, or some people think it's a bit wanky, but that's what we do it for. It's memories, it's personal achievements, it's all that kind of stuff. It is good having a lap record under my belt, even though it was taken. It was something that I'll carry on forever. Can't take it away from me. Yeah,
and you did mention that CAMS and AASA had a little bit of a split. So you left did you go to Calder Park, did you say, and you sold your Formula V?
Yep. Yeah, so what happened, as a quick story behind that, and a lot of other people, I'm sure viewers and stuff would probably know if they were around then, but CAMS was the main governing body for motorsport in Australia, and AASA, Australian Autosport Alliance, I think it's called, they basically created a second governing body and took over governance of a couple of tracks, being Winton and Calder. So if you wanted to run your CAMS license events, you would run at Phillip Island and Sandown, and AASA was Winton and Calder. But the AASA was it was still growing, so the grid sizes weren't very big. The Vs were split, were joined with the Formula Fords at the time. You might have 3 or 4 Formula Vs and 4 or 5 Formula Fords, and that was a grid. So gone are the days of the glory days of the Vs then. So that was 2004 sort of thing. So 2002, at Sandown, I think there was 42 Vs entered at any given race, 40 plus. Sometimes some people wouldn't even get to race. And then once the split happened, a lot of people stopped racing. So it was a bit of a bad time. But now glory days are back. They've actually come back and gone and come back again a few times with Vs. But it's been an interesting thing to watch, how Grassroots Motorsports travelled through those times. We all complain there's too many categories and all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, we just want to go racing. Doesn't matter where it is or who it's with, and that's where we're at now, which is good. You can go and race a particular series like the V's and race at all of the tracks in Victoria, and that's what attracted me to get back into the V's now. So you can go and do it all. It's good.
Yeah, and for the viewers, do you still do any racing, or would you like to get back in the race car at all?
Yeah, I haven't stopped racing. So I might have sold the V in 2006, but from there I did 2-litre sports sedans and Porsche 944s, and I've done gravel rallies and all sorts of stuff. And time attack, I've done a few events in time attack cars. And to be honest, pretty much every time I drove home on a Sunday night, I thought to myself, yeah, I want to buy a V. I always had that soft spot for the Vs. So been lucky enough to purchase the Sabre 02 this year, which is a bit risky in COVID times, of course, but bit the bullet, and I'm looking forward to getting back into state racing in Victoria in my Sabre next year in 2022.
Yeah, I hope I see you at the local Victorian tracks, because I hope to get my Sabre 01 out there and give it a go. What do you think you'd say to someone who wants to give racing cars a go? What would you say to them?
Good question, because I actually look back on my time in my early days when I first started Formula V's, and this could also actually be pointed at you a little bit too, Ed, is like when you're starting out, I personally thought I was going to try and have a career at it, and I kind of look back on that and wish I probably didn't take it so seriously. I did take it pretty seriously. I was always hard on myself. I was always trying to do everything so much that I kind of made it a bit too much of a chore, and I got a little bit too passionate about it and got a little bit angry when things weren't going right and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, Grassroots Motorsport is about fun and having fun. It's a hobby for us, and I look back and it always has been for me, and from now it always will be. But at the time in my early days, I took it too seriously. So that's probably my biggest thing is, if you're young, get out there, go do what you want to do, pick a class that you want to race in, or try a couple if you've got the opportunity, find your spot, find your niche that you love, and just go and have fun and enjoy it. And don't ever take life too seriously, especially your hobby, especially if it's motorsport, because it's expensive and it's time consuming, and you need a lot of support from family and friends and sponsors and stuff like that. Even as a grassroots racer, you need your Norman Darden Browns from Bendigo Specialist Brake helping you, because without a few of those guys chipping in and helping out, giving you some brake pads or whatever it might be, you might not be able to afford it. So you've got to help those guys out, help the people that help you, embrace everything and enjoy it.
Yeah, and is there anything you'd like to say to someone or any sponsors that are helping you?
Got plenty. Obviously, I've thanked Norman Darden a lot, and my family. It's a family thing. You know what it's like. Our families. You go to any state race series, and everyone's got family involved. Whether it's their brother helping them at the track, or their parents financially helping or paying the bills, it doesn't matter. It's a family thing. So big thanks to my family. At the moment, I'm lucky enough to have a few personal sponsors that help me out a lot. Molecule is one of them. Molecule sell protective products for your race gear, so you can wash your suits and balaclavas and stuff at home and not ruin the Nomex. And they do car care products and stuff as well. And I'm sort of a bit of an ambassador for them through that. And they've helped me a lot. And throughout my whole, I don't say career. People will usually say the word career. I don't like to use the word career because I've never earned really much money out of it. But my time driving, I've certainly had a lot of people help. And I could sit here for 2 hours trying to thank everyone, to be honest. But family is the biggest one.
Yeah, you got to thank family. They're always there for you. They've always got your back.
That's it.
Really, it's been a pleasure speaking to you tonight, and it's great to look back on the time that you spent in racing in different categories at different tracks, and I appreciate you spending the time to share your stories with me and the viewers. For anyone out there getting back on the track, remember, drive fast and take chances. Thanks so much, Lee, for joining me tonight.
No dramas at all, mate. Thank you. Cheers.